The AHRC released this paper in March last year, and it drew together over 70 research projects investigating how the value of arts was measured and kind of articulated. One of the areas that it investigated was the value of new cultural venues that had been built across the UK in an attempt to spark regenerations kind of in the city or kind of surrounding areas. Culture-led regeneration has an endless list of ambitions. So it's supposed to increase tourism and attract investment, create new jobs, change the image of a city, make it a better place to live for those that live there and foster community cohesion. This culture-led regeneration has been growing in practice in the UK since the mid-80s, taking their cue from high kind of profile projects in the US. The apparent success of early projects has made it a key policy for successive governments as well. However, the AHRC report makes it clear that there is very little solid evidence that buildings of new cultural venues do actually have these effects that they claim. And there's a lot of research that's very short-term, but not so much that's long-term, and this paper does reference that. The same report criticises how much the arts are valued for their instrumental impacts, like it improves the cities, it attracts investment, it fosters community. It said they call for a refocusing of value of the arts and culture back onto the experience of individuals. So that's what we're hoping to do in this paper. We want to look at how audiences relate to venues for classical music. Venues is something that's talked about more so in kind of museum studies or theatre studies, but not so much in classical music audience scholarship. Most often with classical music, there's kind of a focusing on aesthetic work of musical form rather than its audiences and certainly its audience relationship with venues. There are some papers that look at audiences' relationship with venues, but they don't often rely on empirical research, which is again what we hope to achieve in our research. Today the primary data is from audience members at two venues, which I'll go on to say. So Sarah and I have both done what's called a collaborative doctoral award. So that means that we have worked with an external, Sarah's written a very good paper on this, for an external arts organisation. So I was based in Sheffield with Music in the Round, who were based in the Crucible, which you may know better for snooker, but also does fabulous chamber music. And Sarah was based in Birmingham with the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra. So we mainly use qualitative methods, but again, when I speak to each of our projects, I'll speak more on the methods that we have used. But today I'm taking data from audience members, mostly from focus groups and interviews. So my research with Music in the Round, although they're based in Sheffield, they tour chamber music across the country, and one of their partners is in Doncaster. And for a long time in Doncaster, they presented their chamber music in a Methodist church called Priory Place, very traditional, head-on kind of archetypal Methodist church there. But in 2013, kind of September time, this new venue, Cast, opened in Doncaster, and it was part of one of those kind of regeneration projects in what the Arts Council called a cultural cold spot. Terrible terminology, but that's what they called it. And this is going to be like a flexible place for music, theatre, dance, comedy as well. And this is Symphony Hall in Birmingham, which may be far more familiar to you, and it was built kind of 25 years ago, and it was also part of a regeneration project of the city, and it's designed in a much more traditional format than Cast, is also clearly much larger. So the two venues here differ in size, architecture, flexibility of space, and the nature of the spaces for audiences to mingle, like social spaces, which all shape how audiences experience concerts. So what I'm going to do in this paper now is work through both comparing, firstly, the importance of venue to concert experience, and then an idea of civic pride. So into this first bit, I'm going to talk about Cast first. That's where I collected my data. The methods that I used, although probably is another paper, so please ask me about this later if you're interested, was a mix of creative visual methodology, so a technique called the right draw technique, but also that's a very new method, never used with classical music audiences to my knowledge so far, but I also twin this with more traditional methods, so qualitative-based methods. So I studied the audiences at CAS in this new venue in a longitudinal study. I did a year there and looked at all the concerts that Music in the Round programmed over the course of this first year from its opening. So I first want to just talk about how, even though sometimes the venue can be seen as secondary to the performance, it was acknowledged by audience members that it was of equal importance to the concert experience as the music offered. A performance can only be as good as the space. Many participants also spoke about how talking about the venue was very much part of the concert experience, and actually this was something that might happen during the concert itself or actually sometime after. So we can see that here in this little dialogue. I'm not going to talk through all of these, so I'll let you read them at your own pace. But what I wanted to show here is, venue is important to audience members that attended CAST, and I'm now going to talk about how different factors affected this kind of positively or negatively. So the first thing that arose from the data was this idea of size and configuration. So Music in the Round prides itself on very small, intimate concert setting, always spatially in the round, so a circle audience and music in the middle. That's a very traditional setting, but quite rare in present day. So the research at CAST found audience members' experience to be greatly altered by this size and configuration of the venue. This was particularly based on closeness to the performance, being around the musicians, but also being able to see other audience members. So here, an idea that it was very advantageous to audience members to feel close to the performer. And further to the size of the venue, the configuration was also commented on in relation to the performer. The music was in the middle of us, and that makes a difference. And also to say that this in the round configuration was new for audience members at CAST because they had previously on a head-on configuration at the old venue Priory Place. And this added a new aspect, the ability to see other audience members. So being close to the performers and other audience members seemed to make the experience more involved, as audience members could choose to watch the performer or other audience members. Being close physically allowed them to feel more involved in the performance, so being able to feel the musician's breath and that kind of thing. The smaller venue size also seemed to allow for a recognition of a relationship across an audience. This was a really contentious point in the previous venue in this Priory Place. Seen by this chap here. So there was a real sense of kind of audience cohesion happening. So another factor that affected the sense of an audience experience compared to venue was the ability to choose your seat. So Music in the Round always do unreserved seating. That's basically based on the fact that in the round seating there's no bad seat. And this amount of choice when entering the performance really contributed to audience members feeling like a participant rather than a spectator. Unreserved seating seemed to empower the audience. Seen through my data, mostly they spoke about how this detracted from hierarchy in an audience because there was an equal amount of value attached to each seat. And this had a really influential role in kind of contributing to social cohesion across an audience, which again is a very broad statement and is probably another paper, but that's another finding from my study. Another finding that I found relating to the venue was this idea of a mood changer or framer, the ability for this particular building to signify different mood settings as audience members entered. My study kind of showed that this was a real kind of sense of being somewhere otherly, somewhere very different to the everyday, which is a narrative I know we picked up throughout the day. Participants described, though, which is in contrast to some other scholars in my area, notably Chris Small, that actually this didn't happen as they entered the foyer. Most of the feeling was of change was when they entered the actual performance space, which we can see here. So here the mood was described as a feeling of anticipation for the event ahead. So actually I suggest the performance space is acting as the mood framer and changer rather than actually stepping from the outside world into the foyer, the inside, which is contradictory to some other papers in my field. So another really significant functionality of the concert hall is providing a social space in which to kind of join in conversations with audience members, also linking back to that idea of community cohesion. The space that surround the performance space were equally as valued by audience members as the physical performance space. And they were frequently commenting on how they were having to change cultures between the two spaces. In Priory Place, obviously, as a church, there was no kind of social area attached to that building, and kind of that comparison of the old venue to the new venue came through really strongly when we're talking about social spaces. This idea that after you've been to a concert at Priory Place, you just go home and cast, because they have these social spaces, encourage people to stick around and chat to people, chat about the music, form ideas about the music they'd heard, that kind of stuff. So again, all this stuff about, and kind of really glazing over the stuff about social cohesion. Sarah and I have written a paper about that if you'd like to know more about that, and we reference that at the end. So I'm going to consciously graze over that. And now talk about Symphony Hall, where Sarah collected her data. So this is just over 25 years older than Cass is, and her methodology that she used was very big qualitative data using the box office data that Symphony Hall has, but combined with very in-depth interviews with frequent attenders, some infrequent attenders, some populist attenders, some core audience attenders, and some that have been going to CBSO for decades, and some that were quite new to this venue. So that's Sarah's data set. She found that actually the venue continued to be a really important aspect of concert experience for many attenders. I've seen through this bit of data here. So even though the Symphony Hall is a much larger venue, audiences are seated physically further away compared to that intimate setting seen at Music in the Round. Despite this, there was still a creation of feeling close to the musicians. You can see with this nice wife husband quote here. So at Symphony Hall, feeling close to the music was partially due to the acoustics of the hall. The hall was particularly designed with acoustics in mind, that every seat would have a real crisp hearing of the mostly classical music there. But audience members who have been going to CBSO for many years found an idea of finding the perfect seat. Sarah always speaks about this as kind of with members that have been going for much longer. I know the perfect seat in Symphony Hall, and so there's some quotes from some of her participants here about that. So even though the seating in Symphony Hall is reserved, there was an amount of choice in that, and it still allowed people to feel the kind of humanness of musicians in the same way that we found in the data with Doncaster. But there was an amount of hierarchy found in the found in the audience seating. Okay, so for the sake of time, let me run through some of this. So there's also this idea that comes through the narrative, venue and civic pride, and if I have 5 minutes, I'll probably just speak to my own data that I collected in Doncaster. So we know this was part of the Regeneration project, and there was a really interesting narrative that came out through the year that study that I hadn't actually anticipated. It was this idea that Cass was going to make Doncaster better. So seen here is some data showing that, but also when I asked what impact do you feel Cass is having on the town of Doncaster, 77% of the responses were positive. And the idea that the music venue is having a positive impact on Doncaster was described through its ability to improve the town. Most often these ideas were quite vague, but there was certainly the idea that this was going to make Doncaster better in different variable, tangible ways for individuals. There was also an idea that this would add aspiration to people that lived and worked in Doncaster. This cultural building, would add aspiration. But also there was an impression that this building would be kind of a beacon for not only the value of arts in Doncaster, but more outward facing. So this idea that is going to put us on the map. This suggests that Cass was being more nationally visible, and that there was an amount of advocacy for arts in Doncaster, and the audience members were pleased with that. There was also a feeling that this building would encourage culture in Doncaster, seen here with some participants. This feeling was in great contrast to what was previously offered in Doncaster. In a live history, how there was, you have to travel further afield to have similar quality of cultural products. The ideas explored by this audience member links back to the feeling that Cass is improving the city through the addition of culture, and that actually this was going to encourage new audiences and audience cohesion, seen through here. There was also a sense of pride that grew over the year that I studied the audiences at Cast. That this was impressive architecture. I love this bit. You turn the corner from the car park, and it's like, wow, this is Doncaster. So there's a real value judgment in some of these bits of data about implications for audience members' feeling of worth about the city that they live in. So over the year, there was also a strong sense of protection that grew around this building. Once we had it and we felt it was doing good, we needed to protect it. So this went from the small to felt obliged to pick up litter to bigger kind of value judgments about who should be using this building, and that actually people might be using this building incorrectly, and there was an idea that like the users were damaging it with their skateboards on the outside. There was also a real worry about lack of awareness. So people didn't know what this was, and therefore there was an idea that the culture here wasn't going to continue for very long. That they hope it keeps to be well attended. And also there was this idea of online advocacy, that we should be going on TripAdvisor and we should be sharing positive messages about this. Also, I'd say in this section about lack of awareness, another finding I haven't really spoken to in this presentation, but I feel the narrative has come out really strongly in the day, was this idea of entitlement as well, this kind of north-south entitlement. And I feel like as an ex-coal mining city itself, there's been a real narrative of coal mining communities and how they work with music. And that was a real strong finding, that people that then had this really precious building that was like a hub for culture in Doncaster felt that others might not feel that they were entitled to it. And I've got this lovely quote that sticks to my mind now about someone talking about how they felt Londoners felt having this venue in Doncaster was like taking a white handkerchief down the pit. So there was a real strong kind of, I feel like there's a narrative running through that spoke to that. But again, no time to speak about this. So Sarah has found very similar findings about how CDSO 25 years on had fostered community. There was, I think some of her key points were that this feeling of protection and wow, this is Doncaster privilege over years turned to luck. So rather than having something new on your doorstep, it was something that was sewn into the fabric of the city, and you were lucky to live close to it rather than it arriving on your doorstep. So that was an interesting comparison between the two. So here are some key findings on the importance of venue and some on civic pride. I'm going to premise this all with, all these findings are great, but actually how diverse was our collection of participants, and actually maybe there's also some work that we could talk about audience development and audience diversity. Actually venues are fantastic but not being used by all. Sorry to rush through this section.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful presentation. Although, no offense, it sounded a bit like advertisement So that we will take like these concert halls and you will point out all the good points about it. So I'm wondering if there is any critical points you can take on this building, apart from the last thing you said, that obviously cannot include everyone. Someone has to feel excluded, right?
Yeah, so many critical points and against in time. So I think the first thing to say is we actually struggled massively working with arts organisation as an independent researcher working with these organisations and with these organisations. They view audiences in a marketing capacity. They don't often think about the individual experience. To them, wanting to understand how audiences work and function in these buildings was completely bonkers and an alien concept to them because it didn't better aid what are we going to programme and how much money is that going to bring in and what diversity in our audience might we bring so we can put our next bid into the Arts Council to get money. So actually there was a real struggle and challenge between persuading these arts organisations to allow us to do this kind of audience research. Actually they were really precious about what audience members we wanted to speak to. Sarah, particularly at CBSO, really struggled to have access to some of these audience members, and Sarah has written a really fabulous paper about the difference between institutional arts organisation research with audiences and academic scholarship and audience research. That's in the Journal for Participations, so I could definitely signpost you there for more information. I think on venues there was lots of negatives, and equally the fact that CBSO was actually really expensive to get into. There was a hierarchy of seats, the cheap seats in the back, the expensive ones in the front. Similarly in cast, there was more negative points of actually where the building was situated in relation to the town. There was lots and lots, unfortunately time limiting. But I could definitely signpost you some papers that we speak about that.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lucy.